Hello everyone. Listen to me carefully. Whatever you're doing right now, pause it. Sit down. Breathe. Let your mind settle for a moment. Because the story I'm about to tell you might feel like your own life. It might remind you of the dreams you abandoned, the fears you never admitted, and the strength you forgot you had. This is not just a story. This is a mirror. A reminder. A wake-up call. And if you stay with me through this entire journey, you will walk away with a fire inside you that no obstacle, no failure, no setback will ever put out again. So let's begin. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Lived in the Shadow of a Dream. Aiden Reyes was 17 when he realized his life was shrinking. He lived in Clearwater, a small coastal town where the sea washed up driftwood, shells, and occasionally dreams that people forgot to chase. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where opportunities were rare, and where ambition was treated like a dangerous fire, admired from a distance, but discouraged up close. Aiden's father, Samuel Reyes, had spent his whole life working at the port, lifting crates and repairing old fishing boats. His mother, Elena, cleaned offices at night to support the family. His younger brother, Mateo, was only 9, small, curious, full of questions Aiden never had the courage to ask. And Aiden? He had one dream. One impossible dream. He wanted to become an architect. Not just any architect. He wanted to design buildings that changed how people lived. Schools that inspired kids. Homes that made families feel safe. Structures that stood long after he was gone. But dreams were expensive. College was expensive. Life was expensive. And the Reyes family didn't even have enough money to fix the broken heater in the winter. So Aiden did what most people do. He kept his dream quiet. Hidden. Buried under responsibility, fear, and the weight of reality. But dreams don't die quietly. They whisper. They ache. They haunt. They remind you that you were born for more. And Aiden felt it every night, that restless fire inside him that wouldn't go out. Chapter 2. The night everything changed. One cold evening, while his mother worked her night shift, and his father was stuck repairing a boat with a busted engine, Aiden walked down to the pier. The sky was black. The waves were violent. And his thoughts were louder than the ocean. What am I doing with my life? He whispered to the wind. How am I supposed to chase a dream when I can barely help my family survive? He closed his eyes. He imagined himself walking into a university campus, with books in his hand and hope in his heart. He imagined designing his first building. He imagined giving his family a better life. Then a thought hit him, sharp, painful, honest. Dreams don't pay bills. And for the first time, he felt truly lost. He wanted more, but he had nothing to start with. Or at least, that's what he believed. But life has a way of introducing the right people. At the right time. When you least expect it. That night, Aiden met someone who would change everything. Chapter 3. The Old Man at the Edge of the Pier. A voice suddenly broke the silence. Thinking about jumping in? It was rough, joking, and strangely warm. Aiden turned and saw an old man sitting at the very edge of the pier, legs dangling over the water. He wore a heavy wool coat, a knitted beanie, and boots that had seen more years than Aiden had lived. No, Aiden replied. Just thinking. The old man chuckled. Thinking is good. Thinking too much is dangerous. Aiden forced a smile. Do I know you? No, the man replied. But I know that look. What look? The look of someone who wants a big life, but is terrified of taking the first step. Aiden froze. The man continued, What's your name, kid? Aiden. Well, Aiden, I'm Mr. Holden. Retired engineer. Builder. Former dreamer. Full-time expert in making mistakes. Aiden couldn't help but laugh softly. There was something comforting about him. So tell me, Holden said, what keeps you up at night? Aiden hesitated. Should he tell a stranger about his dream? The dream he told no one? But something in Holden's eyes felt safe. Understanding. Unjudging. Finally Aiden whispered. I want to be an architect. But we don't have money. And I don't even know where to start. Holden nodded slowly, as if he had heard this 1,000 times before. Then he said the sentence that would carve itself into Aiden's heart forever. Dreams don't require money. They require courage. Aiden swallowed hard. Holden leaned closer. And courage, he added, is free. But the price of not using it is very, very expensive. Aiden felt something shift inside him. A spark. A spark he hadn't felt in years. Chapter 4, The Warning. Holden stood up, patted his coat, and said, Aiden, if you want to build a big life, you must accept a simple truth. Nothing changes until you change. Not your money. Not your circumstances. Not your future. He pointed at the ocean. Look out there. Those waves don't stop. They don't ask permission. They don't wait for ideal conditions. They move. Always. He placed a hand on Aiden's shoulder. Kid, you're standing still in a world that never stops moving. Aiden felt his chest tighten. He was standing still. Hesitating. Fearing. Waiting. Then Holden said something even harder. If you don't take the first step now, you will spend the rest of your life wondering, what could have happened if you had? He began to walk away. Come see me tomorrow, he called out. I teach a small construction workshop behind the boatyard. Maybe it's time you start learning how to build. And just like that, he disappeared into the fog. Aiden stood alone on the pier. The cold wind hitting his face. His heart beating with a new rhythm. For the first time in a long time, he felt hope. Chapter 5, The first step is always the hardest. The next morning, Aiden woke before sunrise. He didn't know why. He didn't know how. But something inside him told him, get up. He walked to the workshop near the boatyard. An old, dusty, metal shed with a faded sign that read, Holden and Sons Construction, even though the sons never came back. Inside, Holden was tinkering with wooden beams and steel rods. You came, he said without looking up. Aiden nodded. I want to learn. Holden smirked. We'll see. And so began Aiden's apprenticeship. Unpaid, exhausting, humbling, and unforgettable. Holden taught him everything. How to measure wood. How to cut steel. How to read blueprints. How to see a building not as walls, but as solutions. But more importantly, Holden taught him the lessons nobody else did. Have it check mark how to stay calm under pressure. Have it check mark how to keep going when your hands hurt. Have it check mark how to learn from mistakes instead of fearing them. Have it check mark how to trust your instincts. Have it check mark how to stay disciplined when life gets messy. Have it check mark how to build something even when you feel broken. Some days Aiden felt strong. Some days he felt useless. But every day, he learned. And every day, Holden repeated the same phrase. Dreams are built the same way buildings are. One piece at a time. Chapter 6, The Problem at Home. But while Aiden was growing, trouble was growing at home too. One night, Aiden overheard his parents arguing quietly. His mother's voice trembled. Elena, we can't keep up. The bills are too much. His father sighed. I'm doing everything I can. Maybe Aiden should start working full-time. Aiden froze. Full-time? If he did that, he would lose all chance of college. All chance of his dream. All chance of becoming an architect. But how could he follow his dream? When his family could barely breathe. He felt torn in two. Duty pulling one way. Destiny pulling the other. And for the first time, Aiden wondered if dreams were a luxury he simply couldn't afford. Chapter 7, Holden's Response. The next day, Holden immediately sensed something was wrong. You're quieter today, he said. Aiden nodded. My family needs money. I think I might need to stop coming here. Holden wiped his hands, walked over, and looked Aiden straight in the eyes. What do you want? Aiden whispered. I want to be someone my family is proud of. But I also want to follow my dream. I don't know what to do. Holden smiled sadly. Kid, listen. Your family doesn't need you to quit your dream. They need you to succeed at it. But success requires sacrifice. And you're afraid of choosing. Aiden felt tears burning at the corners of his eyes. Holden continued. You think your dream is selfish. It's not. Your dream is your family's future. Then he said something Aiden would never forget. The only thing more painful than sacrifice is a life full of regret. Aiden closed his eyes. He knew Holden was right. And so, he made a decision. A decision that would change everything. Before we begin, Chapter 8. I want you to remember something powerful. Sometimes the door you're most afraid to open is the one that leads to everything you've ever wanted. And in this chapter of Aiden's story, you'll see exactly what that means. Let's continue. Chapter 8. The Decision That Changes Everything. That night, Aiden sat quietly at the dinner table. His mother looked exhausted. His father looked defeated. Matteo looked confused, sensing tension he couldn't understand. Aiden took a breath. His heart was pounding. I'm going to get a part-time job, he said. I'll help with the bills. But I'm not giving up the workshop. His parents exchanged a look. Elena sighed. Aiden, that's a lot for you. I can handle it, he replied. Samuel leaned forward. Son, we're proud of you. But don't push yourself too hard. Aiden nodded silently. He didn't say it out loud. But he knew this was the price he had to pay. He would work. He would study. He would build. He would grind. And he would not let his dream die. Chapter 9, The Struggle Begins. Within a week, Aiden found a job washing dishes at a small seafood restaurant near the harbor. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't fun. It wasn't easy. He worked late into the night. His hands soaked from hours of scrubbing. He came home exhausted, barely able to keep his eyes open. But every morning, he still dragged himself to Holden's workshop. And Holden saw everything. The fatigue. The struggle. The fire. You look like someone ran you over, Holden joked one morning. Aiden smirked. Just tired. Tired means you care, Holden replied. It means you're fighting for something. Aiden didn't say it. But those words kept him going. Day by day. Shift by shift. Obstacle by obstacle. His life became a cycle of reminders. Dreams are expensive. But regret costs more. Chapter 10, The Blue Notebook. One afternoon, while cleaning out old shelves in the workshop, Aiden found a small, dusty blue notebook. It was filled with sketches. Bridges, buildings, walkways, houses, designs he'd never seen before. Those are mine, Holden said quietly from behind him. Aiden turned. You designed all this? Holden nodded. I started projects in my 20s. Won some competitions, lost others. Had big dreams. Aiden felt his chest tighten. What happened? Holden looked away. Life happened. Bills. Family. Mistakes. Fear. Aiden swallowed. Do you regret not becoming what you wanted? Holden didn't answer immediately. Then he said, every single day. The words felt heavy. Strangely familiar. Painfully real. Holden looked at him with tired eyes. Don't become me, Aiden. Don't bury your gift because the world scares you. Aiden closed the notebook slowly. In that moment, Holden's past became Aiden's motivation. Chapter 11, The School Announcement. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. Aiden's school announced a statewide design competition. The winner would receive heavy checkmark a $10,000 scholarship. Heavy checkmark a summer internship at a major architectural firm. Heavy checkmark a chance to present their design at the regional convention. Aiden's heart almost stopped. This was it. This was the opportunity he needed. The break he never thought he'd get. The path to everything he'd dreamed of. But then reality punched him in the chest. He didn't have the time. He didn't have the resources. He didn't have the confidence. He wasn't prepared. For the rest of the day, he sat in class staring at the flyer, with a storm inside his mind. Should he enter? Should he risk failure? Should he put himself out there? Or should he play it safe and avoid another heartbreak? Fear wrapped itself around him, like a cold wind. But deep inside, the fire burned louder. Chapter 12, Holden's Reaction. That evening, Aiden showed Holden the competition flyer. The old man stared at it silently for a long moment. Aiden, he said. This is your door. Aiden frowned. My door. Holden nodded. The door you're afraid to open. The one that leads to your real life. But what if I fail? Aiden whispered. Holden stepped closer. What if you win? Aiden said nothing. Holden continued. Listen, kid. The world doesn't reward fear. It rewards courage. And right now, courage means you enter this competition. But I don't know enough. You know more than you think. I don't have time. You'll make time. What if I'm not good enough? You'll get better. Then Holden placed the blue notebook into Aiden's hands. Use this. Use everything I taught you. Use the fire inside you. And build something only you can build. Aiden felt the weight of responsibility and possibility in his hands. He nodded slowly. I'll do it. Holden smiled, proud and relieved. That's my boy. Chapter 13, The Blueprint of a Dream. For the next several weeks, Aiden lived in two worlds. The world of survival. School, Work, exhaustion, responsibilities. And the world of creation. Sketching, designing, imagining, building. He worked on the competition entry secretly. Late at night. Early in the morning. During lunch breaks. Between shifts. His design was a community center. Not luxurious. Not flashy. Not complicated. But meaningful. A building meant for heavy checkmark low-income families. Heavy checkmark struggling kids. Heavy checkmark tired parents. Heavy checkmark people who needed hope. Every line he drew was inspired by memories of his own family's struggles. The sleepless nights. The crowded apartment. The silent battles. This wasn't just architecture. This was his heart on paper. Chapter 14, The Setback. Then, one night, disaster struck. Aiden came home from work at midnight. He opened his backpack. And his sketchbook was gone. He panicked. He traced his steps. He went back to the restaurant. He searched the bus. He retraced the streets. Nothing. Gone. All his designs. All his ideas. Weeks of work. Every piece of his dream. Lost in an instant. He stood on the sidewalk. Hands trembling. Heart pounding. Eyes burning. "Why does this always happen to me?" he whispered. "Why is everything so hard?" He felt like giving up. Like quitting. Like walking away. But then he remembered Holden's words. Dreams are built the same way buildings are. One piece at a time. And right now, he needed to start again. Piece by piece. Chapter 15, Aiden breaks down. The next morning, Aiden arrived at the workshop late. Holden took one look at him. And knew something was wrong. "What happened?" Aiden's voice cracked. "I lost everything." Holden sighed, walked over. And placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then rebuild it." "I can't." "You can. It took weeks. Then take weeks again." "I'm tired, Holden." "I know. It hurts." "I know. It's not fair." "I know." Aiden's voice broke completely. "I don't think I can do this." Holden squeezed his shoulder. "Aiden, the difference between people who succeed and people who quit is not talent. It's what they do after everything falls apart." Aiden lowered his head. Tears dripping to the floor. Holden lifted his chin gently. "You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to be frustrated. You're allowed to break down." He paused. "But you are not allowed to quit. Not on my watch. Not on your dream." Aiden wiped his face. He didn't feel strong. He didn't feel ready. He didn't feel capable. But he felt one thing. Determined. "I'll start again," he whispered. Holden nodded proudly. "That's my boy." Chapter 16, The Return of the Fire. And so, Aiden rebuilt everything from scratch. Line by line. Sketch by sketch. Late night after late night. But this time, something was different. His designs were better. His ideas were clearer. His vision was stronger. His purpose was louder. Sometimes failure isn't the end. Sometimes failure is the sharpening of a blade. And Aiden was becoming sharp. Very sharp. Holden watched him. With pride swelling in his chest. "You're not the same kid from the pier," he said one day. Aiden smiled. "I don't feel like him anymore." "You're not. You're becoming who you were meant to be." Chapter 17, The Submission. Finally, the deadline arrived. Aiden printed his designs. Bound them carefully. Placed them in a folder. His hands shook as he submitted his project. The woman at the counter smiled. "Good luck." Aiden nodded, barely able to breathe. He had done everything he could. Now all he could do was wait. Chapter 18, The Waiting Game. Waiting for the competition results was torture. Aiden checked his email constantly. He jumped every time his phone buzzed. He replayed every line he drew in his head, wondering if it was good enough. Holden noticed. "You're pacing like a cat on caffeine," he teased. Aiden forced a laugh. I've never wanted anything this much." Holden nodded with understanding. "That's good. If a dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough." But beneath his calm fatherly presence, Holden was worried too. Not about Aiden's skills. Not about his effort. Not about the project. He was worried about Aiden's heart. When you want something badly, a no can crush you in ways you're not prepared for. Holden had lived through that pain many times. He prayed Aiden wouldn't have to. Chapter 19, The Email. It was a windy Thursday afternoon. Aiden had just finished a shift washing dishes. His back hurt. His eyes were heavy. His apron smelled like shrimp and lemon soap. As he stepped outside, his phone buzzed. One new email. From State Architecture Board. Subject, competition results. His breath caught in his throat. His hands shook. He hesitated. He was afraid to open it. Afraid to see his future in one sentence. Afraid that everything he had worked for would collapse with one word. Unfortunately, he stood there on the cold sidewalk, heart racing. Then he tapped the screen. The email opened. His eyes scanned the first line. And his heart stopped. Chapter 20, The Cruel Truth. Dear Aiden Reyes, we regret to inform you. He didn't read the rest. He didn't need to. His chest tightened. His vision blurred. His knees almost buckled. He had failed. After everything, he still wasn't enough. It felt like the world was laughing at him. Like every sacrifice he made was meaningless. He walked home in silence. Not hearing traffic. Not feeling the cold. Not noticing the tears on his face. He felt hollow. Empty. Crushed. The dream that had kept him alive now felt like it was suffocating him. Chapter 21, The Breaking Point. Holden saw Aiden walking into the workshop that evening. Something was off. His shoulders were slumped. His steps were heavy. His eyes were lifeless. Aiden? Holden asked softly. What happened? Aiden didn't answer. He just handed Holden his phone. Holden read the email. He closed it gently. Then he looked at Aiden. Aiden? I'm done, Aiden said suddenly. Holden froze. What? I'm done. Aiden's voice cracked with exhaustion and bitterness. I gave everything. I worked harder than I ever have. And it still wasn't enough. He stepped back, breathing hard. I can't keep fighting for something I'm never going to get. Holden shook his head. That's not true. It is true. Aiden shouted. I'm not talented enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not special. His voice fell into a painful whisper. And I'm tired of pretending I am. Holden's heart shattered. Not because Aiden failed, but because failure made him forget who he was. Chapter 22, The Fight. Holden stepped forward. Aiden, listen to me. No. Aiden snapped. Just stop. You don't understand. Holden's voice deepened. Don't you tell me I don't understand. I have lived this pain. I have bled for dreams that didn't come true. Aiden flinched. Holden continued, voice shaking. You think this is the end? This is nothing compared to real life. You failed one competition. One. That does not mean you failed your future. Aiden wiped his tears angrily. My future? Holden, I don't even have money for college. I'm wasting time here. My family needs me. I should stop dreaming and face reality. Holden's expression hardened. And what is your reality, Aiden? Giving up? Settling? Living someone else's life? Throwing your gift into the trash? Aiden clenched his jaw. Maybe I don't have a gift. Silence. Painful, heavy silence. Then Holden whispered. Voice breaking. You do. But right now, you're too hurt to see it. Aiden looked away, tears falling freely. Holden stepped closer. Kid. Failure isn't the opposite of success. Failure is the price. But Aiden couldn't hear it. The pain was too loud. He grabbed his backpack and walked out the door. Holden didn't follow. He watched him disappear into the night. And felt something he hadn't felt in years. Helpless. Chapter 23, The Dark Days. Aiden stopped going to the workshop. Days passed. Then a week. Then two. He went to school. Went to work. Went home. But he was numb. He didn't draw. He didn't sketch. He didn't dream. Holden called him. Texted him. Checked on him. Aiden ignored every message. He wasn't angry at Holden. He was angry at himself. Every time he picked up a pencil, his hands froze. Every time he looked at a building, he felt pain instead of inspiration. Every time he thought about the competition, shame hit him like a punch. He felt like a disappointment. To Holden. To his parents. To himself. He convinced himself that walking away was the right choice. That dreams weren't for people like him. That life had spoken. That the door had closed. Chapter 24, When It Rains. It hurts. 2 months later, Aiden's world collapsed even further. His father injured his back at the port. A heavy crate fell, pinning him to the ground. Samuel was rushed to the hospital. He needed surgery. He wouldn't be able to work for months. And suddenly, every responsibility in the house shifted onto Aiden and his mother. Bills piled up. Rent was due. Medical costs rose. Stress filled the apartment like smoke. Aiden got a second job stocking shelves at a supermarket. He barely slept. He stopped seeing friends. He stopped smiling. He pushed carts at dawn, washed dishes at night, studied in between shifts, and collapsed into bed every morning. His dream? Gone. Buried. Crushed. Life wasn't testing him anymore. Life was punishing him. Chapter 25, The Night of the Storm. One night, after a double shift, Aiden was walking home in heavy rain. The storm was brutal. Wind. Thunder. Sheets of freezing water. His clothes were soaked. His muscles ached. His mind felt broken. As he walked down the pier, the same pier where he first met Holden, he stopped. He stared at the dark waves crashing violently, and whispered, "I really tried." His voice cracked. "I really did." Rain mixed with tears. His chest shook. "I just wanted a chance. Just one chance." Lightning tore across the sky. He sank onto the wooden planks, head in his hands. "I'm not strong enough. I'm not enough. I don't know how to keep going." He didn't know how long he sat there. Minutes? Hours? Time didn't matter. He was drowning inside. Long before the rain hit him. Chapter 26, The Man in the Rain. Suddenly, a hand appeared on Aiden's shoulder. He looked up, startled. Holden stood behind him. Soaked, breathless. Eyes full of fear and relief. "Aiden." Holden dropped to his knees beside him. "I've been looking for you everywhere." Aiden stared at him, confused. Holden grabbed his shoulders. "You listen to me," he said, voice trembling. "I don't care how many storms you walk into. You don't walk through them alone." Aiden's eyes filled again. "Holden? I failed." Holden shook his head fiercely. "No. You stumbled. There's a difference." Aiden looked away. "My dad can't work. My family needs me. Dreams don't matter right now." Holden grabbed his face gently, forcing Aiden to meet his eyes. "Kid, your family needs you to survive, yes? But they also need you to become something." Aiden swallowed hard. Holden's voice broke. "You're the most talented kid I've ever met. And I will not let you throw your future away. Because life knocked you down." Aiden whispered, "I don't know how to get back up." Holden pulled him into a tight, fatherly hug. "I'll help you. We'll get through this together. But you can't give up on yourself." The storm raged around them. But Aiden felt something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. Small. Fragile. Faint. But real. Chapter 27, The Rebuilding Begins. Holden brought Aiden back to the workshop. It was late. Past midnight. The rain still hammered the roof. "Sit," Holden said softly. Aiden sat today. Holden placed a blank sheet of paper in front of him. A pencil beside it. Aiden stared at the empty page. "I can't," he whispered. Holden knelt beside him. "Yes, you can. I don't know where to start." Holden smiled gently. "That's easy." He tapped the paper. "Start with one line." Aiden's hand trembled as he picked up the pencil. He hesitated. Holden whispered, "Draw your pain. Draw your hope. Draw your story. But draw." Aiden pressed the pencil to the page. His hand moved. Slow. Shaky. But moving. The first line appeared. Then another. And another. And suddenly, something inside him cracked open. His breathing softened. His shoulders relaxed. His mind awakened. He wasn't designing a building. He was rebuilding himself. Holden watched quietly. Proudly. Emotion in his eyes. Because he knew. Aiden wasn't just drawing again. He was returning. Chapter 28, The First Line of a New Life. The rain outside quieted to a soft pattering. The workshop smelled like sawdust and old memories. Aiden sat hunched over the table, pencil trembling in his hand. And on that blank sheet of paper, a single line had formed. Shaky. Uneven. Barely intentional. But it was a beginning. Holden watched in silence. He knew better than to overload the moment with words. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can tell someone is nothing. Just sit beside them and let them breathe. Minutes passed. Then, Aiden added another line. Then another. His strokes grew smoother. More confident. Not perfect. Not effortless. But real. What am I drawing? Aiden whispered. Holden smiled softly. You're drawing yourself back to life. Aiden exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. For the first time in months. He wasn't drowning in failure. He was floating toward something new. Chapter 29, The Promise. Aiden kept sketching until exhaustion took over. Holden placed a blanket over his shoulders. Get some rest, Holden said. Aiden nodded, but paused. Holden, why didn't you give up on me? Holden sat beside him. His face softened in a way Aiden had rarely seen. Because someone once gave up on me, he said quietly. And I refused to let history repeat itself. Aiden frowned. Your father? Holden shook his head. No. Me. He looked away, eyes distant. I had a mentor when I was younger. A brilliant architect named Raymond Adler. He believed in me more than I believed in myself. But when life got hard, I pushed him away. I told myself I wasn't good enough. That dreams were childish. That I needed to be realistic. Aiden listened intently. Holden's voice cracked. He tried to pull me back. But I shut the door. And by the time I realized my mistake, the door was locked for good. Aiden swallowed. Holden? I'm sorry. Don't be, he whispered. Just promise me something. Aiden nodded. Anything. Promise me you won't walk away from yourself again. Aiden felt his chest tighten. I promise. Holden nodded, satisfied. That's all I needed. Chapter 30, The Return of Purpose. The next morning, Aiden woke up earlier than usual. His muscles still ached. His heart still carried the bruises of rejection. His family was still struggling. Nothing external had changed. But something inside him had. He walked back to the table. Sat down. And began sketching again. Every stroke felt like reclaiming a piece of himself. His hands were still shaky. His confidence still fragile. His fear still loud. But he kept drawing anyway. And day by day, his lines straightened. His ideas sharpened. His vision returned. Not because his circumstances improved, but because he improved despite his circumstances. Chapter 31, The Unexpected Visitor. One afternoon, as Holden and Aiden were working, a black SUV pulled up outside the workshop. A woman stepped out. Tall. Elegant. Wearing a charcoal blazer and a firm expression. Holden Thomason, she asked. Holden froze. What do you want? He muttered. She extended a hand. My name is Rebecca Adler. Aiden blinked. Adler. As in, the architect Holden mentioned? Rebecca looked around the workshop with nostalgia. I used to come here as a child, she said. Back when my father worked with you. Holden's jaw tightened. We don't talk about that. Rebecca sighed. We need to. Aiden stepped back, unsure if he should leave. Rebecca turned to him. And you must be Aiden. Aiden nodded, confused. How, do you know my name? Rebecca smiled faintly. You entered the state design competition, didn't you? Aiden's heart dropped. Yeah. I did. She raised an eyebrow. Do you know why you didn't win? Aiden swallowed. Because I wasn't good enough. Rebecca shook her head. Because the judging panel was looking for traditional design. Your project was too innovative. Too emotional. Too human. Aiden blinked. That's bad? That's extraordinary, she said. It means you think differently. And architecture needs people who think differently. Aiden felt something stir inside him. Hope. Holden crossed his arms defensively. Why are you here, Rebecca? She took a breath. My father passed away last year. Holden's face fell. I'm sorry, he whispered. He left behind one unfinished project. A community center he designed but never completed. Aiden froze. A community center? Rebecca continued. My father always said you were the only person who understood his vision. She looked between Holden and Aiden. I want the two of you to finish it. Holden nearly dropped the wrench in his hand. Aiden's heartbeat thundered in his ears. Finish an actual architectural project? Him? But Rebecca wasn't done. And Aiden, she said. Yes? I want you to design the youth wing. Aiden's breath caught. No, I can't. I'm just a beginner, she said with a smile. Good. Beginners ask better questions. Beginners see what experts overlook. My father used to say, architecture isn't technical. It's emotional. She handed him a folder. Inside were sketches, notes, and layouts. His eyes widened. This was real. This was massive. This was terrifying. Rebecca finished. I'm giving you a chance that people beg for. Don't waste it. She walked back to her car. But before she got in, she turned. Aiden, you didn't lose that competition. You were just playing the wrong game. Then she drove off, leaving silence in her wake. Chapter 32, Holden's reaction. Aiden didn't know what to say. Holden looked stunned. Finally, Holden broke into a grin. Aiden, this is it. Aiden shook his head. But what if I mess it up? What if I can't do it? What if? Holden cut him off sharply. What if you succeed? Aiden swallowed. Holden stepped forward and grabbed his shoulders. Listen to me. This is not luck. This is not pity. This is not charity. He tapped Aiden's chest. This is earned. Every late night. Every shift. Every setback. Every tear. Every line you drew. Every moment you refused to quit. Holden's eyes softened. You've been building toward this moment. Your whole life. Aiden exhaled shakily. He wasn't ready. But maybe readiness wasn't required. Maybe courage was. Chapter 33, The New Mission. Over the following days, Aiden studied the project obsessively. Dozens of pages. Blueprints. Structural notes. Concept drawings. Raymond Adler's vision was brilliant. A community space designed to feel like a second home. Warm. Open. Safe. Just like the center Aiden designed for the competition. But better. Stronger. More real. But the youth wing. That was his. He placed a blank canvas on his desk. Holden stood behind him. Remember, Holden said softly. You're not building walls. You're building futures. Aiden closed his eyes. He thought about his family. Mateo. The kids in Clearwater. The struggles. The loneliness. The pain. And then he began to draw. Not lines this time. Stories. Space for after-school programs. Space for creativity. Room for kids who felt forgotten. Room for ambition. Room for hope. His pencil moved like it had purpose. Like it had rhythm. Like his heart was drawing through his hands. Holden watched with quiet awe. The boy he once met on a lonely pier was becoming someone extraordinary. Chapter 34, The Test. One afternoon, Rebecca returned to see Aiden's progress. She unfolded his sketches slowly. Page after page. Her expression unreadable. Aiden's stomach twisted. What if she hated it? What if he misunderstood the assignment? What if he needed to start over? Finally, she looked up. Aiden, she said carefully. Yes, he whispered. This is. She paused. Aiden's lungs froze. Then she finished. Better than what I expected. Aiden exhaled so hard he nearly stumbled. Rebecca continued. You understand something many young designers miss. That architecture isn't about impressing people. It's about helping them. Holden beamed like a proud father. But Rebecca wasn't done. There's a review board meeting in 2 weeks. City planners. Investors. Engineers. She paused. You'll present the youth wing yourself. Aiden's heart slammed against his ribs. Me? In front of them? I can't. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. You've already proven that you can create. Now you must prove you can stand behind your creations. Aiden swallowed fear and nodded. He wasn't ready. But he was willing. And sometimes, that's enough. Chapter 35, The Preparation. Presentation day approached fast. Too fast. Aiden practiced every day. Practiced speaking. Practiced explaining. Practiced breathing. Holden coached him relentlessly. Speak from your chest, not your throat. Own your ideas. Don't apologize for taking up space. And for God's sake, breathe. Aiden grew better. Smoother. More confident. But his fear didn't disappear. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to keep speaking despite it. The night before the presentation, Aiden couldn't sleep. He sat in the workshop under the dim lamp, holding the blue notebook Holden gave him. He flipped through the pages. Holden's old dreams. His abandoned visions. His younger self's passion. Then he whispered. This time, we finish it. Holden, just arriving, heard him. And for the first time in a long time, Holden's eyes filled with tears. You already have, kid, he whispered. Chapter 36, The Morning of the Moment. The morning of the presentation arrived. With a sky painted in soft gold. Clearwater was quiet. As if the whole town was holding its breath. Aiden walked to the bus stop in silence. Portfolio in hand. Shirt freshly ironed. The blue notebook tucked into his bag like a talisman. His stomach twisted in knots. Not because he feared failure. He'd lived through failure already. He feared letting down the people who believed in him. His mother. His father. Mateo. Holden. Rebecca. He wasn't just presenting a building design today. He was presenting his story. His scars. His struggles. His hopes. His rebirth. The bus arrived. He stepped on. No turning back now. Chapter 37, The Room Full of Giants. The city council building was massive. With marble floors that echoed every footstep. Aiden walked into the conference room. And felt his throat close. There were at least 20 people. City planners in suits. Engineers with clipboards. Investors checking their watches. Representatives from the architectural board. 2 reporters in the back. Everyone looked important. Intimidating. Intellectual. And in the middle of the room. A large table with his name card. Aiden Reyes, Youth Wing Designer. His hands trembled. Rebecca placed a firm hand on his shoulder. You deserve to be here, she whispered. Holden gave him a nod. A steady, grounding, fatherly nod. Aiden inhaled deeply. He wasn't the boy from the pier anymore. He was the boy who refused to quit. And today, he would prove it. Chapter 38, The Presentation Begins. A man in a gray suit called out. Aiden Reyes? You may begin. Aiden stood. His heartbeat thundered. His palms sweated. The room blurred for a moment. Then, he saw Holden in the back. Hands clasped. Eyes full of pride. He saw Rebecca. Arms crossed. Expression confident. Strength filled him. He stepped forward. Good morning, he began, voice shaking slightly. My name is Aiden Reyes, and this is the Youth Wing. He clicked the projector. His design illuminated the screen. The room fell silent. Completely silent. Aiden swallowed, then continued. I didn't design this space from a textbook. I designed it from life. He talked about the children in Clearwater with nowhere to go after school. A family struggling in small apartments. Kids like Mateo, who needed inspiration. His dream of giving young people a place to feel seen. He explained the open concept. The natural lighting. The communal areas. The quiet study nooks. The art space. The counseling corner. He spoke with heart, not with jargon. Not like an architect. Like a storyteller. Like someone building a home for others. Not just a structure. And the room felt it. He ended with a simple sentence. This building isn't just for kids. It's for anyone who needs hope. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Then, someone in the back whispered, Brilliant. Another nodded. An engineer scribbled notes. A planner leaned forward. An investor tapped the table thoughtfully. Aiden stood frozen. Waiting for something. Anything. That's when it came. But not from who he expected. Chapter 39, The Critic. A woman in her 50s cleared her throat. A touching presentation, she said. But this is a serious project. We need experienced designers, not emotional students. Aiden's stomach dropped. She continued. These ideas may be heartfelt. But they're not realistic. Not practical. Not professional. She looked directly at Aiden. You're simply too young. Her words cut like glass. Aiden bowed his head. Maybe she was right. Maybe he didn't belong here after all. Holden clenched his fists. Rebecca's jaw tightened. The room murmured. But then, a slow, firm voice broke through. Chapter 40, The Defense. Holden stood. Everyone turned. He walked to the front. Not as an old man. Not as a retired engineer. Not as someone broken by his own past. But as Aiden's anchor. Aiden Reyes is the only person in this room who understands what this community needs, Holden said. The critic scoffed. And why is that? Holden's eyes sharpened. Because he lived it. The room quieted. Holden continued. Because he knows what it feels like. To grow up with limited resources. Because he knows the cracks in this community better than any blueprint ever could. Because he isn't designing from theory. He's designing from truth. A murmur rippled through the room. Holden stepped closer to the table. You want an architect who understands people? He does. You want an architect with heart? He has it. You want innovation? He is innovation. He pointed to Aiden's sketches. These drawings are not emotional. They're visionary. Rebecca stepped forward beside him. And the late Raymond Adler, she said softly, would have agreed. The room froze. Her father's name carried weight. Respect. Legacy. The critic swallowed her argument. Aiden looked at Holden and Rebecca. And something inside him broke open. Not pain. Gratitude. For once in his life, he wasn't fighting alone. Chapter 41, The Decision. The board whispered among themselves. Minutes felt like hours. Aiden's heart pounded. Then the chairman stood. After reviewing the design, he began. And considering testimony from the Thomason and Adler families. Aiden braced himself. We are pleased to say, the project is approved. Aiden's breath caught. Approved? As for the youth wing, we officially appoint Aiden Reyes as junior designer under the mentorship of Rebecca Adler. Aiden closed his eyes. He couldn't speak. He couldn't move. He just breathed. Deep, shaking breaths. That felt like freedom. Holden wiped a tear discreetly. Rebecca smiled proudly. The chairman concluded. Young man, welcome to the world of architecture. Aiden finally whispered. Thank you. But the truth was, this wasn't luck. This wasn't charity. This wasn't a miracle. This was the reward for refusing to die inside. Chapter 42, The moment he tells his family. That evening, Aiden rushed home. His mother was cooking. Mateo was doing homework. His father rested on the couch, back still healing. Guys, Aiden said, breathless. I need to tell you something. They turned to him. He held the approval letter out with shaking hands. I got chosen. My design got accepted. I'm working on a real project. For real people. With real architects. Silence. Then. His mother covered her mouth, tears spilling down. Aiden, am I Hijo, you did it. His father slowly stood, gripping his son's shoulders. You made us proud, he whispered. Mateo jumped into his arms. You're gonna build things? Real things? Aiden nodded, crying and laughing at the same time. He had dreamed of this moment for years. He had imagined it when the world felt hopeless. And now, it was real. Chapter 43, Holden's Letter. A week later, as construction planning began, and Aiden visited the site every day, Holden called him back to the workshop. I've got something for you, he said. He handed Aiden an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. Aiden unfolded it. Aiden? When I met you on the pier, I saw a boy who didn't know his worth. Today I see a man who discovered it. You didn't just chase a dream. You fought for it. You bled for it. You stayed when others would have quit. And that's why you will go far. Finish what I never did. Build what I couldn't. And live the life I once feared. You are my legacy. Holden Thomason. Aiden's vision blurred. He hugged Holden with all the strength he had. Thank you, Aiden whispered. For everything. Holden's voice cracked. You did the work, kid. I just pointed you in the right direction. Chapter 44, The Final Message, for your audience. A year later, the community center opened. Hundreds of people attended. Kids ran laughing through the halls Aiden designed. Mothers wiped tears. Fathers smiled with pride. Families felt hope. Aiden stood there quietly, watching lives change. Inside a building created from his pain. Holden stood beside him. Feels good, doesn't it? He said. Aiden nodded. Yeah, it does. Holden placed a hand on his shoulder. You built more than a building, Aiden. You built yourself. Aiden smiled. And that's the truth of his story. Dreams aren't about timing. Dreams aren't about luck. Dreams aren't about talent. Dreams are about courage. About resilience. About refusing to quit. When life gives you every reason to. Aiden didn't win because life got easier. He won because he changed. Because he rose. Because he fought. Because he believed. Even when belief felt impossible. And so should you.